Hello and welcome back to another YouTube video. Hi, I'm Speeder. Okay, so I'm back after a quick shower and a little bit of lunch from the last Keep the Books video that I filmed. And while I was in the middle of that, I thought to myself, you know what? Why don't I do my top 10 favorite characters lists, and maybe with some honorable mentions, like maybe 5 honorable mentions. I surprised myself when I made this list, because I honestly thought that I liked a certain character more than another one in the same series, but then I was like, you know, if I really think about it, and I'm still not 100% certain, but yeah, I think I agree with this list very much. So, this will be my top 10 favorite characters of all time. This list will contain characters from Ranger's Apprentice, Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, Keeper of the Lost Cities, and Fablehaven, and the Ascendants trilogy, or just the Ascendants now. So, yeah. So I guess let's get started. So this first one will contain spoilers for Ranger's Apprentice. Number 10, Will, from Ranger's Apprentice. Will is an interesting one. I love him, but I don't. But I do, but I don't. That one's a conflict. It has been a little bit since I've read the earlier books of Ranger's Apprentice. The middle books of Ranger's Apprentice. I've read the earlier ones more recently, and the later ones more recently. Ones like book 5 and book 6. It's been a little bit, as well as like book 4 and book 7, and you know those ones. Book 8. I've read the first 2 most recently, and then the Royal Ranger is the most recent I've read. But Will is a great main character for the first 4 books of Ranger's Apprentice. But he can make some really dumb decisions like any main protagonist would. And I'm trying to keep this as spoiler free as possible, but there may be some minor spoilers, just so you know. Your minor spoiler, Will becoming more, less himself in the Royal Ranger, which it makes sense because of circumstances, but him becoming less of himself in Royal Ranger kind of tainted my image of him. But because he is grieving, it does make sense. So I cannot blame him for that. It was not his fault. But I think he is a great, kind of sarcastic main character in the beginning of the series, and he becomes a little bit more mature, but he's still himself later on. I don't know, I love a sarcastic character with a good character arc. Will, I think, had a good character arc, like, in the second book, but it never really stuck with me. I love Will. I love Ranger's Apprentice. It is one of my top favorite series of all time. I love it, and that includes Ranger's Apprentice, Brother Band, Early and Royal Ranger, all put together. Because they all are in the same world and contains characters from each other in each of them. So, yeah. Will, he's a good character. And I especially love early Will. Okay, I'll be putting in the 5 honorable mentions, which also could have gotten on this list if I didn't have a few problems with them, just before I get to number 1. So, number 9, continued spoilers for Ranger's Apprentice, is Holt. Holt is a wonderful mentor character. He teaches Will pretty much everything he knows, not everything. I mean, you have, what is his name? It starts with G. Gilliam? I can't remember the exact name. Orange Apprentice book down here. I don't. Gillian? Dang it. I'm pretty sure it starts with a, yeah, it starts with a G. Gillian? Maybe Gillian. I'll have to double check. But, it was Halt's previous apprentice. So basically, Halt did kind of teach him everything he knows. But Dylan didn't learn everything from Halt. So, yeah. Anyways, but Halt is, like I said, a wonderful mentor character, and he has a great twist in his story and a good character arc in Book 8 and Book 9, as well as in the earlier series. I won't go into depth as to what that is, but I think it much improves his character as well, and you kind of understand him a little bit better and what he has had going on, and why he is the way that he is. And like I said, I am a sucker for a sarcastic character who has a good character arc. Halt may not be the most sarcastic character a lot of the time, though he can be sometimes. He's usually very serious most of the time, sort of. But he does have a great character arc, so yeah. Okay, let's move on to number 8. I can see so many people disagreeing with me on this who are Harry Potter fans. Spoilers for the entire Harry Potter series, especially Book 5 and onwards. Ginny Weasley. Yes, I love Ginny. She is wonderful. I hate her in the movies. They completely ruined her character. That was not Ginny. Book Ginny is amazing. I have commented on videos before saying how the Harry-Ginny relationship was so much better in the books, and it was. I stand by that. It was. I actually shipped them in the books, whereas in the movies, I am a Harry-Hermione shipper. But for the books, I ship both, honestly. So, Ginny is so much more sarcastic in the books. She's so much more snarky, you could say. And she is actually smart, and like I said, really funny. And actually a good Quidditch player, you get to actually see it. And you can actually see that it didn't really come out of nowhere. There are little hints every once in a while. It did not come out of nowhere. I stand by that. And I may do a video on that in the future. After I have reread Harry Potter for the 9th time, I think. But yeah, I love Book Ginny. She is wonderful. She's amazing. She may not be my favorite character in Harry Potter, but she is great. And I don't know, I love her. She's beautiful. Amazing. Ginny, you are cool. And if I knew more about Fred and George, they would be on this list, but unfortunately, they are not. I suppose they could have made it on this list, but I didn't really think of them. They are my favorite Weasleys, but Ginny, I think, is my favorite. Not my favorite character in Harry Potter, but she is one of my favorite characters in Harry Potter. You'll see more Harry Potter characters later down this list. Speaking of which, we have number 7, Luna Lovegood, who again is not my favorite character in Harry Potter, but is still a great character. She's very quirky and mysterious, and it's great, and I love her. She's awesome. She's super weird and really creative and a Ravenclaw, and I'm a Ravenclaw, and so it's really nice to see some Ravenclaw representation in the books, because we're missing that. And also Hufflepuff representation. Come on. I love Hufflepuffs. They're awesome. They're friendly. They're loyal. They're the best kind of people. Honestly. I love Hufflepuffs. But I personally am a Ravenclaw. I have taken many tests, including the official Pottermore, or I guess it's Wizarding World now, Harry Potter house test thing. I am very much a Ravenclaw. Very, very much a Ravenclaw. I did take that percentage quiz, and if I had my phone with me, I could read the exact percentages, but I am mostly Ravenclaw, then next is Gryffindor, then Hufflepuff, then Slytherin. I am the least amount of Slytherin, but I am the most Ravenclaw and Gryffindor, which kind of makes sense, honestly. So, yeah. Also, Ravenclaws. We have been... Our merch. The merch for Ravenclaw is sad. They had to change... The symbol of Ravenclaw is an eagle. Get it right. Please. It is not a raven. Yes, it makes more sense for it to be a raven, but it is not a raven. It is, in fact, an eagle. So, I apologize for that. Math. Math. Anyways, sorry. But yeah. Back to Luna. Yeah, like I said, she's a Ravenclaw. And very quirky, mysterious. And I'm just saying. This just got really awkward because my parents are right over there. Okay, moving on. Anyways, sorry, that was really awkward. Anyways, so yeah, Luna is that kind of quirky, mysterious character that you love to read about because she's so strange, and it's nice. It's nice to see a strange character in the series that just kind of intrigues you. And she's great and precious, and we need to protect her. So, yeah. Anyways, moving on to number 6. This one may contain spoilers for Percy Jackson, and that is Annabeth Chase. Annabeth is my favorite character in Percy Jackson. She is basically a Ravenclaw. She's a daughter of Athena. By the way, I also took the Percy Jackson Who is Your Godly Parent quiz, and I am a daughter of Athena as well. So, we're basically siblings. I'm holding the grip for my Switch Joy-Cons things. Anyways, but Annabeth is a child of Athena, and I'm a child of Athena, so that's great. And she's basically a Ravenclaw. Super smart, but also really funny. A lot of times she can make some really good snarky comments. Her and Percy really balance each other out. Percy does not appear on this list, but I think they really balance each other out. You have Annabeth's kind of like calculatedness. She's very smart and everything, and then you have Percy, who's like incredibly reckless and just constantly wanting to save people. I don't know, Annabeth, I always related to Annabeth more than most. I always relate to those, like, Ravenclawish characters. I'm just like, I get that. So, yeah, I don't know. Annabeth, daughter of Athena, really smart, funny. Honestly, great match for Percy. And she's always seemed more like the team leader type. And that is great. So, Annabeth definitely deserves a spot on this list. And I can't think of a better one than number 6 because all the rest of these characters are absolutely amazing. Let's move on to the top 5. At number 5, we have Hermione Granger. Again, she may be a Gryffindor, but she is still incredibly smart and always seemed more like the team leader than Harry, especially in book 5 when her and Ron is not on this list at all. He's not in the honorable mentions. I'm not a huge Ron fan. I apologize to you if you are. So those of you that are Ron fans, I'm sorry. I'm not a gigantic fan of Ron. I know he's like super loyal, sort of, but I don't know. He's never really been one that stuck with me. But Hermione is kind of the glue of the group. She's the mom of the group. She's basically the leader, even though Harry seems convinced that he is, but really, is he? Honestly, it's Hermione. What more do I need to say? She is my favorite character in Harry Potter. I love her. And she could be in Gryffindor or Ravenclaw. Honestly, she fits in both. But moving on to number 4, we have Keith Sensen. I used to believe that he was my favorite character in Keeper, and he might be, but I don't know. There's one a little bit higher on the list from Keeper. Keith is only lower on this list because of his so many incredibly idiotic decisions. Get it together, Keith. You do not need to do that many stupid things in those many books. I'm sorry, but that is so idiotic. If you have read 8.5, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. And if you've read book 4, and book 5, and book 4, you know what I'm talking about. But especially if you read 8.5, you know what I'm talking about. I am sorry, but he was my favorite character up until that point. You are such an idiot. Ugh. I love book 1 through 3 Keith a lot, but I also love books 4 through 8 Keith. Because in the first 3 books, okay, spoilers for all of Keeper right now. Books 1 through 8.5, all of it. Okay, so in the first 3 books, Keith is very snarky, he's sarcastic, even in some book 4. But mostly in the first 3 books, he's very snarky, sarcastic. He's the comic relief. But then you get to like book 4, book 5, book 6, book 7, even book 8. And he, after finding out the truth about his mom, he becomes a much more dark character. But he's still great, because he's still very supportive to Sophie. And he's always trying to help as much as he possibly can, even though he can be such an idiot sometimes. He's still trying to help as much as he possibly can. He fails a lot, but I still love him, and he's a wonderful character. And I took the what character are you quiz on this channel, actually. I always get Keith. So, yeah. I don't know, Keith is interesting. He's a very complex character, and I love a good complex character. They're awesome. I love complex characters. They're wonderful. But because of his stupid decision at the end of 8.5, he dropped out of the list just a little bit. But he still deserves a spot at number 4. So let us move on to number 3. The top 3 favorite characters of all time. And that is Seth Sorensen. Okay. Seth, like Keith, has almost always been kind of a comic relief character. But he's also really brave. He's an adventurer. But he can also make some super idiotic decisions in his trying to be brave. But I love him because he's right more than Keith is, and he's always trying to do the right thing, trying to protect people. Mostly, he starts doing this in the sequel, Dragon Watch, but he does do it some in the original series. But he's a kid. He's kind of immature, but still love him. He's great. Honestly, he drives the plot forward. Honestly, he makes all the mistakes that Kendra has to clean up after. Kendra is not on this list. I'm not a gigantic Kendra fan. Sorry to those of you that may be. But Seth is also a shadow charmer. Sorry for those of you who might not have read Fable Haven. I probably should have given a spoiler warning right there. But Seth being a shadow charmer makes him cancel out great with his sister Kendra. They're like complete polar opposites. And I think Seth is also a pretty complex character. I don't know. He has special powers, right? He's a shadow charmer. He's can be very idiotic. He's been the comic relief, but he also has character arcs all over the place. He becomes more mature as the series goes on. And, well, he's honestly a pretty complex character. And that is all I love to see in a character. So let's move on to number 2. Biana Vacker. My favorite Vacker. Much more than Fitz. I hate that guy. He's nowhere near the top of this list. Nowhere near this list. But Biana, or however you want to say it, but Biana. I just say Biana, that's how I pronounce it. You can pronounce it however you want. I know technically there is a pronunciation guide now, but Biana is an interesting case, and she is my favorite character now in Keeper of the Lost Cities. But hear me out. This will contain spoilers for the entirety of Keeper, but especially for Book 6, if you have not read Book 6. Biana, in the first book, she starts out as a bully. She starts out as a mean girl, right? You know, the person you never really... The person you're taught to hate. The person you're taught to dislike very much. But then, because she's told to hang around Sophie, she changes. Because after she's told to, she eventually realizes that Sophie's actually really cool and that she actually really wants to be a friend, and they become really good friends. Personally, I think of Biana and Sophie as more of best friends than Sophie and Dex, even though technically Sophie and Dex are the best friends. I don't know. It always seems to fit more for me. I don't know why. But, yeah. And yes, Sophie is not on this list. She might deserve to be. But she is not. She's not in the honorable mentions either, which I will get to in a minute. But yeah, Biana, yeah, like I said, she starts out like that, and then she becomes very good friend to Sophie. And throughout it, she's still like this kind of girly-ish person, and that is who she is, and that is awesome. But, you know, she's still kind of a girly girl, right? And she always will be, and that is who she is, so that is great. You be you, and that's awesome. But in Book 6, especially Book 6, she does something that made her my favorite character. She went after Vespera on her own. She was so incredibly brave in that moment, and that is wonderful. It was a huge character arc for her. It almost seemed out of character, but now it's not. She is a purebred Gryffindor. I'm just saying right now. Even though I think Gryffindor is such an overrated house, you can watch my Harry Potter book talk on the houses and see why. But, she has some of the most character development throughout the series out of any of the characters, in a good way. She has some of the best good character development out of everybody. And I love a character with good character development. Some people might strongly disagree with me or strongly agree with me. I don't know. Or maybe they're just mediocre. I don't know. But I love Biana, and she is my favorite character in Keeper of the Lost Cities. She's great, she has great character development, and I think she deserves to be called Sophie's best friend. So, before we get to number 1, we have 5 honorable mentions here. First of all, we have Lynn from Keeper of the Lost Cities, Tam from Keeper of the Lost Cities, Nico from Percy Jackson, Leo from Percy Jackson, and Percy from Percy Jackson. So those 5 almost made it on this list, but they did not, sadly, because they just barely did not make the cut. I think the closest one to make the cut was probably either Nico or Leo. I love them both. Especially after House of Hades for Nico. He has so much more depth after that book. It's great. But now, number 1, which will contain spoilers for the Ascendance trilogy. If you have not read the first book, the Ascendance, if you have not read the first book, this will contain spoilers for it. Jaren, aka Sage. So, he is my favorite character. I didn't expect him to be, but I really think it through, and I'm just like, this is the definition of my favorite characters. He is super resourceful, constantly getting himself out of tight situations. He is never missing a beat with the snarky comments, never gives up either, and, well, mostly. He's just like, you hear his inner monologue, and it is absolutely wonderful. He is the most snarky character ever. And I love it. It is wonderful. I'm just saying, Jaren, the Ascendant King, is a wonderful character. And he could honestly be Gryffindor or Ravenclaw. He is very smart, but also extremely brave. And I have never, and here's the big thing, I have never enjoyed reading about a character. A specific character, not a series, but a specific character. That was Jaren. I love his inner monologues. It's like, yes. Yes. Wonderful. Well done, Jaren. You have now become my favorite character. He kind of slipped my mind over the years because it had been a while since I'd read The Ascendants. But now that book 4 came out, I've read it, and The Ascendants is back fresh in my mind, and I remember how much I love Jaren/Seth. Sage. Jaren/Sage. He's just great. And I don't think I've ever laughed more at a character's inner monologue than Jaren's. So, that is the list. Honorable mentions: Lynn, Tam, Nico, Leo, Percy, and the top 10 list includes Will, Holt, Ginny Weasley, Luna Lovegood, Annabeth Chase, Hermione Granger, Keith Sensen, Seth Sorensen, Biana Vacker, and Jaren the Ascendant King. So, that is the list. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any ideas for me to do on the Keep It the Books channel or the Keep It the Movies channel, feel free to leave a comment on any video that comments are enabled on, which I'm hoping will be all of them soon once I really start to figure this out. And if you would like me to play any of these games soon, some of them, the first ones I will be mentioning, I'm not sure if I'll have all of them in the future, and those are Skyrim, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, Talos Principle, Portal 2, and yeah. And then Minecraft I will have in the future, guaranteed, because I am going to buy it on the Switch, but I also own it on PC. It was a birthday present. I don't know, I think it was Late Birthday Present. Was it? I don't remember. But yeah, so Minecraft will be a sort of option. But then also on the Switch, which will be guaranteed, we have Super Mario Odyssey and Neversong, which is a puzzle game. So if you would like to see any of those, then just let me know. They will all be in the quality of this camera. I'm obviously still in the middle of filming the Little Nightmares DLCs and Pokemon X playthrough. So, yeah. That's all for today. Make sure to let me know if you have any ideas or if you would like me to play any of those games in the future on videos. That would be great. So, I will see you guys next time.